Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7, and this is going to be my review for episode 13 for this season, otherwise entitled Masquerade, which is 100% fitting now that we know what the episode was about. But of course, spoiler alert, if you've not watched the episode, go away. Come back later on when you've watched it, because we're going to be talking about everything, or at least the majority of things that happened within this episode. But of course, if you are continuing on with the video, be sure to let me know your various opinions in the comment section down below. What did you find the most interesting? What did you hate? What did you love? Any theories going forward? Because there is a couple of things sprinkled in here that move on to future episodes. So let me know all of your thoughts, opinions, theories, anything like that in the comment section down below. I'm always curious to read them. And of course, if you want to enjoy the video and you enjoyed the episode and everything like that, just want to show you support, I want to drop a like on the video to do all of that. So last episode was, of course, the Goodbye Cisco episode that took up the vast majority of the episode, but it also involved, I was going to say Sesto. Is that even a word? Cisco passing the torch, if you want to call it, over to Chester as he does move into his role / position. There's nothing really too much with Chester in regards to that in that episode. It's more leading into this episode, which we do see play out fairly heavily, both the positives and negatives of that position. And then, of course, right towards the end of the episode, we did see Cecile arriving home, and she's hearing these weird voices and what's going on. And then she looks in the mirror and is confronted by a masked version, presumably of herself in the mirror. So that was like the big, that's setting up this episode. But in regards to this episode specifically, we do start off with Joe and Cecile cross-checking their files over like the legal stuff and the police stuff. What's going on, and find some connections with Kristen Kramer and some information that Kristen wouldn't want out there. So that, I thought they were just setting that up for future episodes. They do come back to it at the end, so it's sort of like a bookend. It starts the episode and finishes off the episode, that storyline. But I'm just interested to see how much screen time we get with that, or if it's something that's just going to be sprinkled throughout the rest of the season. I'm curious, because there's not that many episodes left. This is the 6th final episode, I think it was. So there's only 5 more episodes after this, I think, if I can count. I think I can count. So they don't have a lot of time there. So I wonder how much focus that'll get in the remainder of the episodes. Because I think from what I know, Kristen is, I think, in the majority of the rest of the season. I think she's in at least episode 16, I think it is as well. So she's in a good amount of this season. So I'm interested to see how much time they put into that. But just after Joe leaves that conversation, Cecile freezes and sort of like skitzes out, and we see the real Cecile locked up in like a mental prison of sorts. So, yeah, it's not the best start to the day for Cecile. At least we think like that's the start of it. We obviously learn how long it's been going on for. But one of the big questions, like from that point, is like, well, who's actually in control of Cecile if Cecile's in this like mental prison? Now, as I said, Chester is moving into that role like officially in this episode that Cisco held since season 1 and even before that. And we just see like Chester pimping out his workstation. He had a photo of Tupac. I think there was a Martin Luther King poster. I think there's something else there. And it's a bit of a shock for Caitlin seeing this new era, because it was Cisco's for so long, and Chester's like pimping it out, painting it, making it look much more fresh. But hey, it's got a pinball machine, so I'm all for it. I mean, I love a good game of pinball. So if I weren't there, I think I'd be going straight for the pinball machine. At least that's just me personally. Now, a dance session, or as I would sometimes say, a boogie session, leads to Chester needing some replacement wiring for his speakers and or sound boxes, whatever you want to call them. And he walks in on Barry and Iris, who were, to put it simply, getting it on. Bow, chicka, wow, wow, without the music. The music wasn't there. I think it might have been too on the nose if the music was there. But hey, maybe they might have done it. Now, I thought the whole point of being in a public relationship, let alone being married, was that you didn't have to sneak around. Barry's the Flash. Couldn't they just speed back to the loft? I don't know. I don't know if really having to do that in the Starkives it's not very sanitary either. That place isn't that clean. Anyway, maybe food for thought for Barry and Iris. But speaking of Barry, he is assisting Cecile with a case. Well, he's thinking he's there to assist Cecile with a case because he thinks it's Cecile. And, unfortunately for Barry, he gets stuck in the same mental prison that our normal Cecile is in. However, that was like a bit of an error because it sort of leads to Cecile getting out. Anyway, so it's not good at the time. We're thinking, this isn't good at all. It's not good at the time. But at the end, when you think back, it was like, hey, that was probably an error in your plan there. Anyway, but Caitlin reveals that if Barry stays in the incapacitated state, that's the best word to use, that he's in at the moment, for too long, he could stay in a coma for the rest of his life. Now, that would be the same for Cecile, but someone's in control of her body. So I guess it could get to the point where Cecile would never get out. But with Barry, at least, if he's would just become like a vegetable pretty much. It'd just be a meat sack with no functioning thing. So there's a clock ticking. Now we do learn, and we talked about this last episode, but we learned that the mask that we saw was that of Psycho Pirate. So we were talking last episode, I think even in my trailer breakdown, that this mask, to me, the only logical explanation for it in regards to the DC universe from the comics and even the Arrowverse we have so far, is that it would have to be Psycho Pirate's mask. It's really the only gold mask that we have. There's Dr. Fate, but he has a gold helmet. It's not a mask. So they reveal it is actually Psycho Pirate's mask, but it's not Roger Hayden in control who had it during Elseworlds. Like, the mask was taken off him and it went through back to where it was from, and then it's gone through a museum tour or something. But the mask is now back in action on display, or it's about to be on display in the Central City Museum, and Cecile is pretty much being used as a means to retrieve the mask through Team Flash. Now, we learned that Cecile was actually locked in this mental prison when she was hit by the purple lightning during the Force Storm, and she's been in there for 2 weeks or so. But it wasn't Bashir/Psycho that did this, because he's on our side, and he wouldn't still hold her in there. So who was it? Well, regardless, Barry and Cecile need to try and find it away ASAP. They know that within that mental prison, and we know it outside that Barry's going to be, a comatose, patient if he doesn't hurry up. Now, returning this episode after, when was she last? I think it was episode 3. I think she was last here. We have Sue Dearborn returning, thanks to Chester calling her in to help with sneaking into the Central City Museum and, in regards to the mask stuff. Now, Sue is suspicious of what's playing out, finding it all a bit odd, which we know it is, but Sue's the first one to catch on to this, and it's not a very good look for Chester, the fact that he doesn't catch on. Now, Ralph doesn't show up. You could argue that Ralph would have been a very good person to have here because he can stretch and stuff. But I don't know if they mentioned where he is specifically. I think they just said that they'd been to Tunisia and stuff like that. So I don't know specifically if they said where Ralph is. I think they just say he's still on a mission. I think that's what they say specifically about him. Now, Barry and the real Cecile, that I guess rolls off the tongue. They think they found their way out of the mental prison with a portal, but it's just playing with them. Well, it's technically because Cecile was doing something, but it still plays with them. And it disappears, and they find a person in a straitjacket, and it's actually another Cecile who slips Barry deeper into the mental prison. And it's sort of there's floors. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, blah, blah. And they just get sucked or slipped deeper into that mental prison. So it becomes a bit more of a task to get out. Now, Sue and the other Cecile, or fake Cecile, or whatever you want to call her, they get into that secure area where the mask is via a dance number featuring some lasers, which was interesting. It was ballet or something like that. Anyway, Iris figures out that Cecile is not really Cecile. She's the first one to catch on to it outside of Sue. I guess Sue sort of knew what was going on there, but it's too late. She gets the gold mask, and now they have a problem. Now, Team Flash are able to sort of piece together and realize, or figure out or realize what's really going on with Cecile, that she's being controlled like Roger Hayden was when he became Psycho Pirate, and the other bearers of the mask, were before him. And it appears, or whoever's in control appears to use the purple lightning from the Force Storm as a cover for taking over Cecile. Now, Chester feels that he is completely at fault. It's not the best first day on the job for him. I wouldn't say it's 100% his fault, because there was other people at Team Flash there that were sitting there as well. It's just that Chester was sort of leading that mission, so he's sort of going to take the brunt of the failure, if you want to call it. Now, real Cecile reveals that she knows where they are. They're actually in a psychiatric prison establishment thing where she was a patient long ago after her mother passed away, but afterwards she just bottled it all up and hid it away until now, where it's pretty much been unlocked and she has been thrown straight back into it. Now, this episode, this is sort of I don't want to say it's a mental health awareness episode, but it does deal with mental health, and this is a real life issue that a lot of people do have. It's bottling suppressed memories up and stuff, which can slowly eat away at you and tear away at you physically, even though it's a mental thing. So I think they represented it okay. I think I don't think it was like insulting, but I think it was an okay representation of like a mental health problem, if you want to call it. I think Joe and Cecile talk about at the end of the episode about like sort of like opening up to others, not sort of keeping it bottled away, which I think was a good message to give right at the end of the episode. But I don't know if anyone picked it up during the episode that it was meant to be like a mental health sort of thing, but yeah, I think they did okay with it. I wouldn't give it like a 10 out of 10, but I think they did a solid job with it. But anyway, Barry is able to motivate Cecile that she is the way that they can get out, and she has to face her past, and that will allow them to, get into that portal that we saw before and get them out of wherever they are. Now, Chester realizes that Psycho Cecile, I'm calling her Psycho Cecile because she has the mask on, so it's not Psycho Pirate, it's Psycho Cecile, but she needs something to amplify her powers to the point where she can permanently be in control and also be quite powerful at the same time, and it's actually through DeVoe's chair. Now, I think they used DeVoe's chair because it allowed like an action scene sort of thing because it has weapons on it and stuff like that. I think they could have used something else. They could have used like the thinking helmet thing if that was still there. I'm sure that would be in the Star archives. They could have used something like that, but they used the chair because it can be like an action thing. But speaking of an action thing, we do see Iris and Chester versus Psycho Cecile, where I think both of them defy not only their physical, but at least like also skill boundaries when they take her on, but we'll let that slide. I mean, we've seen it before in the show with other characters like Cisco and stuff like that. We've seen just like, how did they do that? Anyway, but this is going on while we also see the real Cecile in the mental prison defeat her mental prison like self, if you want to call it, and saving both herself and Barry from it. Now, the mask ends up going to Cisco, funnily enough, at Argus. Caitlin takes it there where it will be under a strong hold. So I don't think we'll be seeing that golden Psycho mask get out anytime soon. Now, Joe does reveal to Cecile, this is like during like where he talks about the mental health stuff as well, but in regards to moving forward, the important stuff is that Joe reveals to Cecile that Kramer's last mission that she was on involved her leading her squad into an ambush where she was the only one who survived. Now, we've heard Kramer talking about like a thing with like metahumans and stuff where all of them died, and I'm assuming is this the same mission? Is this the same mission where she referenced to Joe before where all these people died due to metahumans? So I wonder if that's the same thing. I don't know if that's what they were sort of saying in that thing with Joe, or if that's something that gets revealed later on and we're just sort of meant to connect the dots right now. But yeah, she was the only one who survived, with Joe thinking that she was actually working for the enemy and like whoever took them out. So I'm intrigued to see where that leads and potentially who the enemy was and just the higher forces behind it and what Kramer's really up to. I always love a good mystery, and I'm definitely intrigued with this one. But overall, I thought this was a solid filler episode. Like, this had nothing to do with the main plot. Like, we know that Godspeed and some stuff that's happening at the end of the season had zero to do with it. However, as a filler episode, as a single episode, just reviewing it as its own, I thought it was pretty solid. I thought it was pretty entertaining and stuff. There was like one or two scenes where I'm like, I'm not too sure about that one. But overall, I enjoyed it. I think it was good for Cecile. I think we learned more about her. And yeah, and I'm interested to see where the Kramer stuff goes as well. And it was also good for Chester because we get to see him dive into that role and have a mistake early on. But if I'm looking at it as like a larger picture for the season, I'm like, okay, well, I preferred if like we move some storyline for the story as a whole for the season along. But as a single episode, I thought it was pretty solid. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this. What did you think of the episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What were your problems with it? What did you love? I already said that. What did you like? What are your theories going forward? I'm always curious to read what you guys have to say. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. And goodbye.